welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Capricorn, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of August 2023. I hope you are well. I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot for you today. Just before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's the first link in the description box. Second link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on Circle. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost and get to hang out with a truly extraordinary group of people. And I don't say that lightly, they are really quite amazing. We've also got classes running over there as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, please do feel free to avail yourself of that link. Now, Capricorn, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Capricorn, please? There we go. There's the first one. We have the, I forget which button to press. There we go. We have the 10 of Pentacles in reverse in your recent past. What about current energy for Capricorn? Ooh, Justice reversed. Okay. And what it is coming towards Capricorn for August, please. Thank you. Outstanding. We have double aces. We have the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles with the Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck. And that makes a lot of sense for the kind of the slightly discordant feel that I get from the 10 of Pentacles in reverse and the Justice card in reverse. Like, quite simply, Capricorn, this is a matter of reframing. And I'm going to say that right from the outset. Let's just go with this deck here. Let's give it a little waft. And a shuffle, and we'll get some meat on these bones. This feels outstandingly positive. I'm just going to say that, right? So bear with me. Tell me about the 10 of Pentacles in reverse, please. Thank you. 10 of Wands. Makes a lot of sense. Oh, the Justice card in the upright. Tell me about Justice in the reverse, please. We have the 7 of Wands. And took a while to come out, the Queen of Cups. And what about these 2 aces? Can you tell me about these 2 aces, please? We have the Devil. There you are, Capricorn. Your fresh start. The Empress. And let's get one more, please. These double aces. Got the 10 of Swords in reverse. Now, like, in some ways, this makes an awful lot of sense. We're probably not going to get very far into the reading without coming up against this notion of, well, not this notion, the fact that the nodes are changing sign. It happened, you know, I've seen astrologers, some said it was the 15th of July, some saying it's the 18th of July. I don't know, it's around about that time period, okay. And we're going from North Node in Taurus and South Node in Scorpio to North Node in Aries and South Node in Libra. Now, as far as that affects you, you should have a look to see where it where the nodes actually sit in your chart, because the house will tell you the area of your life that it's particularly affecting, and certainly where your energy should be going. It's a karmic shift for everyone, and this happens every 18 months or so. The nodes change sign. But there's a particular I wanted to say specificity, but I'm not sure that's actually the word that I did want. There's something particularly profound about this shift, because although the signs move every 18 months, this time we're completing an 18-year cycle, because obviously the nodes kind of work their way through the signs. And we've come back to Aries. It is the start. It is the initiation. It is the I am. It is the beginning of the karmic cycle, right? Which means that the last 18 years have been one that you've been in the grip of. And the question then of, you know, what themes you were dealing with between December 2004 and June 2006, we might be seeing a repetition of those kind of energies. Obviously, you're going to be dealing with them differently because you've got 18 years worth of experience now of the previous cycle. But genuinely, there's a total shift in the direction of travel. And the reason that I'm bringing this up right from the off is because of the number of tens that we've got on the table, right? There's completion here, but there is also initiation. There is starting something afresh, starting something anew. Now, it doesn't feel to me to be a particularly comfortable shift. I'm going to say that from the outset. But in the best tradition of these things, in the long run, it's something actually that is going to be incredibly beneficial for you. So, should just point out that we have the Three of Wands at the bottom of the deck there too, and we'll refer to that during the course of the reading, I'm sure. I do feel like I want to pull out the John Bauer, yeah? Don't know why, but just for additional information, we're going to pop that one there. But we start with your recent past. Now, the recent past, to give you a time frame, we're looking at, essentially, it could be this morning, could be that recently, or it could be in the preceding 6 weeks, right? That's the sort of time frame that we're looking at here. And you have the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. Now, again, it's a 10, so it indicates completion. When it shows in the upright like that, it's actually a very welcome card, you know, and it speaks variously of inheritance. Can talk about that. It can talk about stability, security, the things that we have spent some time working towards building, right? It's a very well structured card, and it's one that I like to see for earth signs, because you know, you're always in the act of building something. Well, here in the Ten of Pentacles, what we have is a completion of that thing that you've been investing so much of your energetic currency into, which is how I see the Pentacles, right? But it's showing up in the reverse for you, which means I am afraid to say that there is some kind of destabilization that has occurred here, right? The breaking apart, perhaps, of what it is that you thought you were building, you know, a realization, possibly, that you're not going to be able to complete something the way that you wanted to. Now, this could be a material thing, you know, it could be that you've been, I don't know, let's pull out some really random examples, right? Maybe you've been saving for a house deposit or something like that, but then all of a sudden you've had something come up that essentially it needs to be paid for and is going to wipe out your savings, right? That's one way that we could see it. Another way that we could see it is some sort of instability within the home, within the family environment, because the Ten of Pentacles is often the happy family card too, in which case there's a destabilization of something that you have put a lot of energetic investment in. It's kind of breaking apart, possibly. But it could be speaking to your personal stability and energetic stability, emotional stability. The things that you have relied on, possibly to an extent taken for granted, now starting to kind of shift around and break down a little bit. Now, I'm trying not to hedge this too much, but the important thing to notice here is that we don't have the Tower card. We don't have a sudden and shocking ending to something. What we have is actually a natural completion to something, almost. You know, this Ten of Wands is a card of burden. It's a card of being overstretched and you know, spreading ourselves a little too thinly. And the Ten of Pentacles in reverse feels like it's a way that this Ten of Pentacles, that the Ten of Wands comes to a state of completion. You know, the Ten of Pentacles can sometimes talk about our work situation and, you know, the stability that comes from work and whatnot. Again, this is a general reading and you have to take it as it resonates to you, because it's going to be slightly different for everyone, right? But this sense that something that has been an anchor point, something that has taken a lot of time and care, you know, a lot of energy has been invested into by you, is now no longer quite as structurally sound as it once was. And it doesn't feel like it's a sudden shocking thing. It's kind of like more of a dawning realization that this is not giving you what it is that you thought that you needed. And in fact, you've been working really, really hard to try and keep it structured exactly as it always has been. And for whatever reason, this isn't working. Now, the presence of the Justice card, right, indicates Libra energy. It could be that this is something to do with a Libra, that's possible. But I do tend to prefer to interpret cards in an energetic sense rather than a specific person sense. But again, take it as it resonates to you. And for some of you, this could indicate some sort of impending court case. Possibly an impending court case around family, we can see that, and possibly the breakup of the family, something along those lines. Because the Justice card can quite simply speak to legal matters, it can speak to contracts, it can speak to negotiations and agreements and those kind of things. It could be that you've gone into something very, very confident. Possibly a little too confidently. And now it's being put in the hands of an external authority to make some sort of decision about it. But this is where we're going to pull this card out, because this deck out, because not all of you are going to be going through some sort of legal matter. But there's a sense here that something needs adjusting. That something needs to be brought into balance. And currently, it's really quite out of balance. Tell me about the Justice card. Thank you. We have the Eight of Cups. And we have the Eight of Wands in reverse. So double eights always speak to power, right? And not necessarily how much power we actually hold in a situation, but how much power we perceive ourselves to hold. Kind of one and the same thing, but it's interesting how we make the distinction in our subconscious between those things. And whatever conclusion our subconscious comes to is often the way that something will play out. Now, the Eight of Cups is about emotionally leaving something behind, right? And more often than not in the Waitsmith, what we see is somebody with their boots on and their cloak on, and they're headed off with their stuff, right? They're obviously going on some sort of journey. But there's much more of a forlorn feel about this. We've got a man who is naked and vulnerable in a crowd of people. And there's a feeling of kind of grief, of loss somehow in this card here, which would absolutely tally with what we see with a breaking down of stability here. I mean, Capricorns don't like to tear things down. You like to build things up, right? You're always pointing in the direction of the thing that you want to build. So for this to be occurring the way that it is, it feels deeply uncomfortable, and it does feel like it's kind of revealing something deeper that up until this point, you've done a really good job of hiding. And the Eight of Wands in reverse, which is a card that talks variously about communication, and it also talks about the increase in momentum in things. It feels like things are being halted for whatever reason. And it is in this moment of pause where the universe seems to be pausing for you to kind of look around and notice that you are in a situation where you feel vulnerable, and almost like there is no choice but to throw yourself on yourself at the feet of some sort of external agency, whatever that means to you. Where you're having to come face to face with a stripped down and naked version of yourself. I think this is the way that I want to put this. Whether or not an external, there is an external factor or not, there's something about the situation that you've been in here and the realization of how it is breaking down. And perhaps even how hard you have made it for yourself, that you're having to come to terms with here. It might be that there's communication breakdowns. where had communication been pursued, flappy birds outside, this situation might have been averted. It might have gone in a very different direction. But in the absence of that communication, now there is just you. This realization feels really profound, Capricorn. And it is tinged with loss. It is tinged with a feeling of sadness and vulnerability. And I don't feel like in this instance you really know how to proceed. You know, it's like, did we not talk months ago about, I think it was about the shift of Pluto out of your sign and into Aquarius. Like, the rules of the game have changed. Right? The way in which you have structured your reality and the way that you understand it is necessary for you to be in order to be successful. You know, what your core values are and the things that you're working towards and all that sort of thing. The things that you hold dear, the things that you consider to have value, now suddenly kind of swirling off in some sort of crazy Aquarian galactic manner. And you're having to sit back and say, well, what does this mean for me now? You know, there's something here that seems to have, like, you know, literally ripped off the coverings of you to expose you down at your deepest level. And I'm not sure how comfortable, well, it's not going to be comfortable for anyone to be in that kind of position, right? But when I was talking about eights indicating power and the level of power that we hold and how we interpret our you know, our idea of power, the changing of the rules of the game, perhaps the changing of the game altogether, means that we are asked to look at ourselves and see if we are a good fit for the way that things are turning out, or whether there is something in us that requires some sort of adjustment. I mean, the feeling of sadness that you have might be something completely revelatory to you because you had not perceived that it ran so deeply and that you felt so much. A lot of the readings over the last year, have actually maybe 2 years, have been moving towards this idea of opening up, allowing yourself to heal, you know, looking at your own wounds and processing all of that information. But it has necessitated time and energy and effort into sitting with that. And I think you got very close and then you pulled away, and you got very close and you pulled away. And at, you know, the very end of this karmic cycle of the nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio and the shift into Aries and Libra, it's almost like you're having to look at yourself as you actually are. And the North Node being in Aries is dealing with issues of courage and assertiveness and, you know, bravery and fire, initiation, all those kind of things. And I wonder if you've realised that in some ways you feel ill-equipped to move forwards. Now, this is all sounding a little bit maudlin and a little bit grim, but it's actually exceedingly positive, and we'll get into why that's exceedingly positive. But the TLDR is essentially because this is forcing you to adjust, it is forcing you to change, and any kind of forced evolution never really feels as comfortable as we would like it to do. Like, we like to take things in our own, you know, at our own pace and under our own control. And there's something here about the control being wrested from you, Capricorn. But in that moment of vulnerability and openness and perception of self, you can start the process of adjusting yourself towards whatever this is. Now, in the present energy, we've got the Justice card in reverse. And if we go to the really obvious interpretation of that first, like, if you are engaged in any kind of legal proceedings whatsoever, the Justice card in reverse doesn't suggest that it's going to go in your favour. You know, the scales seem to be tipping in favour of somebody else for whatever reason that is. you know, the Justice reversed feels like an unjust situation. It feels like an injustice has been done. And we've got that Seven of Wands there, you know, speaking to the defensive energy that you know you have brought to bear in any given situation, right? How you're trying to fight this, if it is a legal situation, where it's not quite panning out the way that you anticipated it going when you initially engaged in it. Now, if you're not involved in any kind of legal proceedings, if you're not signing contracts, if you're not doing, you know, any of that sort of thing at all, then the Justice card is about the equilibrium that you feel, right? Your personal sense of balance and how it is being entirely tipped up, right? And this might well be something that reveals a shitload of triggers to you that you had not anticipated feeling, that you didn't even realize were in operation with you. Let's pull the Seven of Wands. So we have the Magician. Oh Lord. We've got the Empress, we've got the Eight of Swords, and we've got the Sun card. Now, Magician is Gemini or Virgo energy. The Empress is Taurus or Libra, and we have the Eight of Swords, which is another Gemini card actually, and then we have the Sun, which is Leo. Now, if you are dealing with any of these signs, all's the good in terms of, you know, flagging them up. But I feel like the trigger here for you is a feeling that you've been in some way manipulated or outmaneuvered. Now, this could be with regard to a specific situation, or it could be across the board with quite a few things. You know, the Magician's a very positive card, and it talks about manifestation, right? And what we're doing is combining the elements at our disposal with conviction, with intent. That's how we bring about what it is that we're trying to manifest for ourselves. You know, the Empress is the archetypal mother, but she is also dealing with you know, the gestation of something new that is coming into the world. Now, the Eight of Swords here could speak to either the movements and actions of somebody else that has felt like, I don't know, like a pincer movement, or you know, we've got people acting in a way that you did not anticipate. You know, people who seem to be holding on to a conviction in a much stronger way than you are. Perhaps because you know, frankly, because perhaps you underestimated what it was that you were dealing with. And so while you're sitting here in an Eight of Swords going, how could this possibly be happening the way that it is? And notice that we've got yet another 8 here on the table. It looks like somebody else is kind of waltzing off into the sunset and getting exactly what they wanted. And I do feel with this Sun card here that it feels like there's been something taken from you. Now, this card here is Leo, like I said. And because we've got shades of Leo in here, we've got notions of consciousness, but we've also got children, and we've got the inner child. And the fact that he's got this sack on his back, you know, it's like, it feels like something's been taken from you, or you feel like something has been taken from you. And somebody's just waltzing off into the sunset while you're left here in your feelings. And the in your feelings bit is deeply uncomfortable. Tell me about this Queen of Cups. Yeah, we've got the Ten of Pentacles in reverse again. You see how it just hopped out there. And the Devil, there you are again. You know, the instability is yours here, Capricorn. That much is absolutely certain. You know, we've got the Ten of Pentacles in reverse twice. So instead of something being built up and stable and, you know, having good foundations and all that kind of thing, it's falling apart. But it's a 10. And I do feel like it represents something that was supposed to fall apart. And the devil here absolutely is you. But there are also all of the other things that we associate with the devil, which in its more pejorative interpretation deals with things like toxicity, codependence. It can talk about a reliance on things that are unhealthy for you. So we've got substance abuse, we've got alcohol abuse, and anything that's done to excess, frankly, is covered by the devil. And it also speaks of fear, like it's the underlying fear, which is the drive. It is the fuel for the devil in that interpretation. But not all there's no card in the tarot that's all good or all bad. Like they're multifaceted, and they have shadowy aspects, and they have light aspects too. And the light aspect of the devil is the fact that he covers the entire material realm. I often see this combination for artists when they've got the high priestess of something similarly intuitive and conduit-like, drawing down inspiration. And then it is the devil that gives that form. It's the devil that gives it structure so that it may be perceived by other people. Now, whichever way that it goes, if the devil card's showing up for you, I do feel like it's holding up a mirror. I mean, the Hanged Man here could certainly speak to that. Because there's a question of your identity here. And who you are in the absence of the Ten of Pentacles. We're not talking about a kind of, certainly from a financial perspective, we're not talking about an absolute catastrophic loss. We notice that we haven't got the Five of Pentacles here anywhere. It's just the breaking down of what it is that you had structured. It doesn't mean that you can't get it back, but it does mean that in its current form, it's not going any further. So with all of these things that we've got at play, and these are coming out underneath the Queen of Cups, which is asking for acceptance. The Queen of Cups is Cancer energy. It's your opposite sign in the zodiac. It feels like it's pushing you to be in your feels. It's pushing you to accept a situation which it seems to me that you cannot control any further. And it's asking you to pay attention to how you actually feel about that. Because this isn't a situation that it seems to me is designed to torture you. Quite the opposite. It's one that's teaching you to accept the way that the status quo is changing. And that feels, at the moment, certainly with these cards that we've got on the table here, that may feel very uncomfortable, feel extremely challenging. And I said, does feel like there's a sense of loss in there. However, there's a really, really deep lesson that's being taught to you here, Capricorn. And the quicker that you can get on board with the acceptance of the way that everything is changing, and perhaps just, the amount of control that you have over a situation being the thing that changes, the more swiftly you bring in for yourself the possibility of the aces. Now, they're here in the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles, and I really, really love this for you, both of these, because these aces and pentacles are so very important in everything that's going on here. The Ace of Pentacles is always a welcome card for anyone, but particularly for earth signs, because it speaks to the new. Now, if you want to be really basic about it, it talks about a new job, a new house, promotion, something like that. It's some way of improving your material circumstances. But it doesn't just drop into your lap. Like, there's the potential. What the Ace of Pentacles actually talks about is your willingness to invest your time, your care, your energy, your attention into something new, right? Planting a new seed from which a new Ten of Pentacles will eventually arise. It feels like this is a clearing of the decks to make you focus on this, but it's not letting you get away with just purely putting your attention into, you know, the next new project that you're creating for yourself, because it is paired with the Ace of Cups. And Queen of Cups is a very strong indication that she wants you to feel, right? And what I was saying about how we're talking to notions of identity, and how this whole situation is holding up a mirror for you, because it's supposed to help you start to come to terms with the fact that your relationship with yourself has been pretty brittle for most of your life. Right? This is not a judgment, and it's certainly not kicking you. It's kind of asking you to look at yourself gently, look at yourself in a compassionate and forgiving way. You know, see how I ended up saying this quite a lot in this round of readings, you know, like as within, as above, so below, as within, so without. You know, whatever's going on inside of you is reflected outside of you. If stuff has been really fucking challenging here, then there's something that's going on internally that is incongruent with where the universe wants to send you. And the very necessary precondition for you starting to live a life that is in alignment with where the universe wants to take you is first and foremost looking at the relationship that you have with yourself. And this is why I said that this reading is incredibly positive, because, you know, it's bittersweet. It's coming with a tinge, but there seems to be something here that is igniting an initiation of something new. And it is a new relationship with self, and a new point of attention, a new point of focus. And where attention goes, energy flows, right? It's a clearing of the decks of all of the mucky energy that we all have at various points knocking around in us at some point, right? But it's giving you an opportunity to sweep all of that out and start looking at yourself in a very different light. You know, there's the devil again. So whether it is whatever it is that you want to give form, or whether it is, you know, giving the devil the slip in terms of perhaps, you know, unhealthy coping mechanisms that you've had with things that have stopped you from looking at yourself, all's the good. I can't actually see this any way other than being incredibly positive for you. Seven of Pentacles. There's something about the situation that you've been in, whether you've recognized it or not. It's the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. That has been less than optimal. Let's put it that way. And that can be quite irksome. Like, Capricorns like to be efficient about things, right? And there's something about what you've been doing that's been incredibly inefficient. Like, there's been a drain on your energy and you have not even realized it. And I would say it's this schism between who you are outside and who you are inside, and whether there's actually kind of any dialogue between those two at all. And as I said, I actually know a lot of Capricorns, and off the top of my head, I can't think of one who appears to like themselves at all. And that might just be me looking at the outside looking in, but certainly I don't often get a sense that Capricorns put themselves first. You know, they put their goals first. That incredible work ethic that you have, and so you can put that first too. But in terms of just a gentle, simple being with self, that seems to be something that as a sign you really struggle with. Now, you know, Cancer being your opposite sign and covering an entirely different sphere of experience, and then being highlighted so very fucking strongly here, it's asking you to take the time to contemplate the fact that maybe there is a different way of doing things, there's a different way of being, there's a different way of experiencing life, and whether you like it or not, you seem to be being shoved into it. And no matter how challenging and difficult this is, what I don't get a sense of is there being an absolute catastrophic end. And I really want to push that through to you. You know, what it is that you think you have built, that it's turning out now has not been built. Being pulled down as it may be, it's giving you an opportunity to start again and to do it better. And as a sign that is ruled by Saturn, my ascendant is in Capricorn. You know, we cannot help but grudgingly accept that if there is a way of making something better, then we're kind of dishonouring ourselves by not taking that opportunity. You know, there's a revelation here for you, Capricorn. And I don't think it's one that you would have willingly accepted. It seems to be being thrust on you in some sort of way. But there's a very quick adjustment to it. And it's like, do you know what? Actually, the situation that I have been in has been less than fucking optimal. And this card's really interesting in the John Bower, because you've got that little princess there who's just lost in the woods. Now, we've all spent enough time listening to fairy tales when we were young to know that nothing good ever comes from that situation. You know, whether this is a case of being out of our depth, which is possible, or maybe that we can't even, we can't see the wood for the trees and all that sort of stuff, or whether we have just been lost and there's that realization that we have been lost, and a map would be a really fucking good thing right now. Well, the map seems to be the thing that's being handed to you here. It's that Nine of Pentacles in reverse, right? Card that talks about independence and self-sufficiency and, the ways that we can look after ourselves. I mean, effectively for me, because it's a 9, it talks about the way that you manage whatever suit it represents. So in the Nine of Cups, it's about how you manage your emotions. In the Nine of Pentacles, it's about how you manage your resources. And I think the realization is that you have not been managing your resources, whether they are energetic or material, whether it's your money or whether it's your attention, the things that have been occupying your time. I think, Capricorn, what you're starting to see here is that these are coping mechanisms. And whatever dressing is being ripped off a wound during this time frame here that we're looking at, it really isn't so that everybody can look at your wound and go, ew, that's disgusting, and run away. Because Capricorns don't like to show their wounds to anyone, right? Don't want to look at them themselves either, right? It's an opportunity for you to assess the situation and go, right, well, this is less than ideal. I've been walking around with this festering wound for quite some time now, and I haven't even bothered washing it out. Maybe I should start with that. Because the energy of the Ace of Cups is about washing things clean. It's about being gentle. It's about being compassionate. And looking at the situation and going, do you know what? All of my energy's been going in the wrong place. Quite simply, it's been going in the wrong place, and I have been stuck in this loop where I thought I was doing the right thing, but suddenly I realised that I am not. And I have been gifted a second chance. There's an opportunity here for me to start afresh, start anew, do it properly this time, and reap all of the future benefits that will bring. We've got that Empress card again there. She's putting in a second appearance. The archetypal mother, perhaps, but I can't help but feel like the Empress is talking about a state of gratitude here that you seem to arrive at really very quickly. Maybe it is that you've been struggling for a while. We see that down there with the Ten of Wands. And this is not something that you have admitted to yourself. Like, no, I'm not struggling. I'm not having a hard time. Everything's fine. And you seem to me to be coming to the conclusion very, very quickly that actually you are struggling, and it's okay to share that. And not only that, being forced to look at the way that you've been struggling is giving you the tools to stop struggling. It's like a huge fucking revelation just hitting at once and being like, I've needed help all of this time and I lose literally nothing by asking for it. We've got the Ten of Swords there. Like I said, bittersweet. We do have an end. The ends are all over the reading. Tell me about this Empress and Ten of Swords, please. Got Page of Cups in reverse. And the Ten of Wands coming out sideways. 2 cards in reverse. We've got the World and we've got the Hanged Man. And the World is in reverse, and I like that for you, actually, because the World talks about completion. It talks about ends, right? Often it talks about graduation and stuff like that. It's like, yay, well done. You've completed your cycle. You're all good. You can move on to the next phase. But I think the thing that's really the thing that's really been bothering you here is that there is a total end, a total completion. That's that door shut on that situation, and it's gone. The world card in reverse says that's not true. Like, you're not at the end of a cycle as far as this situation goes. Like, the day-to-day understanding of how this is working out is certainly changing in front of you. But, you know, it's another card of Saturn. Saturn saying you need to go back and you need to do it again, right? But do it better this time. The Hanged Man is showing up in the reverse here and is saying, like, the time to be inactive is gone. Like, you have to actively dedicate yourself to this energy here so that you can carry on. You know, we've got, it's another fucking Saturn card there. It's like Saturn in Sagittarius or something. Sure it is. And we've got the Page of Cups in reverse. You know, the issues here have been caused by your lack of openness, right? That by being closed down on things that are really, really important and want to see the light of day, right? And you've closed down on those because it's been very difficult to function. But every coping mechanism has an expiry date, and this seems to me like you've hit it. You've hit it right now, and whether you like it or not, it's all shutting down and it's changing the way that you experience it in the day-to-day. But it isn't closing out for good. I'm saying, like, no, not the end of a cycle yet. Go back, do it again, do it a little bit better. You know, show willing. Invest yourself. Invest in yourself and invest in your relationship with yourself. Because the Hanged Man, like I said right at the beginning, this is about a reframing. That's what's going on here. So if you get stuck in the mire of this is all fucking dreadful, this is awful, this is a massive fucking injustice, you know, like throwing hands and being angry about the situation, you're trapping yourself. If you can view this from a more objective perspective, seeing the bigger picture and seeing that it isn't the end, but things need to change and change significantly, then it does become like a second chance. And for some reason, there's an order of magnitude that is associated with this here. I mean, we're not talking about something small. This is something that feels very important to you. And it feels important that you invest yourself in it. You know, the Three of Wands is about the actions that we take. Look at that. We've got the Three of Wands followed by the Four of Wands. It's the actions that you take, right? The steps that you take, the behaviors that you engage in order to create a new foundation for yourself, right? So you could waste time defending yourself and being guarded and being triggered and all that sort of stuff, or you could break that energy of the Seven of Wands down into two far more healthy actions. Okay? This is what I'm going to do, and this is the new foundation that I'm going to build. And it feels so genuine. Like, it's like a complete change of perspective. And the more rapidly you can adjust to it, the quicker the blessings come. And blessings do come. There's no doubt about that. You've got the potential here for perhaps even things that you didn't even know that you wanted up until this point, Capricorn. But you have to give yourself to them. You have to submit to the energies, submit to the process, submit to what it is showing you. Because I do think that with that Star card underneath there, your future seems like it's going in a very different direction to where you might have thought it was going 3 months ago. Right? It's taking on an entirely different hue, and it is kind of jolting. But like I said, we don't have the Tower, we don't have the Death card, we don't have those terrifying, scary cards of it's going to be awful. What we have is, yeah, it's not comfortable. It's really not comfortable, but it's a very, very necessary shift, and it does not mean that you lose everything. quite the reverse. You get an opportunity to do it again and do it better. And that feels to me like an incredibly positive thing. So, I'm going to leave it there, Capricorn. I'm going to go over to do the extended now. So if you want to join me on Vimeo, you're very welcome. If you want to join me on Circle, you're also equally very, very welcome. If not, please just do bear in mind what I've said for this month, right? This is not a month for knee-jerk, I don't know, well, I don't know, like, because you feel to me like you're going to get triggered pretty fucking hard. The best advice I could give you is witness those triggers. Don't necessarily act on them, because, you know, that action-reaction thing is not cool. Like, try and introduce some sort of gap between something that happens and your response to it, and sit in that gap for as long as you possibly can. Start looking at it from lots of different angles, rather than just going with what is triggered in you immediately. See where there is a blessing in disguise being offered to you, because I think despite the feeling that you're being treated unjustly and that things are desperately imbalanced, I honestly feel like the reverse is true. I think you're being treated a lot more justly than you're currently aware of. And particularly with this opportunity to start again. Take your time between action and reaction. And give yourself time to ponder. And don't be afraid to admit you were wrong either. I think that's a big thing. Because I don't think it diminishes you in the eyes of anybody else. But that's maybe it's not what you're afraid of. Maybe you're afraid of being diminished in your own eyes. I don't know. It feels like a hugely revelatory month for you, Capricorn, and one that absolutely shifts your direction of travel. But in the best possible way, even if it is a little bit uncomfortable. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.